Dan Perry here with another Dan on Tech Python video. So far, when we've been just looking at commands. We've been looking at different statements and how they work. Now let's start looking at how we would solve problems. And this first problem we're going to work on is just creating a pattern of asterisks where we're given a size, and in the first line we'll go ahead and we would print one asterisk, then in the second line 2, then 3, and so on up till we get to our ending value. In this case there are 9 asterisks at the end, so 1 up through 9, the same number of rows. So that's what we're going to try to accomplish in this video. It will probably be broken up into 2 videos, one doing the analysis and the other video doing programming. We'll look and see how long this takes. If we want to start looking at the pattern, what we're going to do is we're going to have an asterisk, then 2 asterisks, and so on. We know the print function with Python puts a carriage return line feed after each print, so somehow we have to print all the asterisks on each row at once. So we'll need to come up with a way to do that. We know we're going to have loops. In the loops we're going to have to go down and have the number of rows and the number of asterisks across. So how would we do that? And this comes into how you start thinking about programming. If we know how many rows we want, we would have to set some value for rows. Then if we think of it, a row is printed at a time, we need to figure out how we would go through and set up to print the right number of rows. So we would do a loop for that, and we would have some sort of loop. That loop would check to see if we were at the end or last row. If we're not at last row, so I'll say not end. If we're not at the last row, we're going to have to do something. Then we go up and do it again. And we go through that loop over and over again until we're at the last row. So that gets our rows printed. In this do something, we need to print the asterisks. So how are we going to do that? Well, that will be in itself another loop with some other logic that's outside the loop. So here we'll have to go in and we have to somehow set number of asterisks. And then we'll need to print the number of asterisks. And we'll use a loop to set the number of asterisks. So what we end up with is something along the lines of set rows, check to see not last row, when that's true, we may have a command in here, we'll see. Then we have another check or another loop that's going to go and check to see right number of asterisks or not right. If that's true, in our code we're going to set asterisks and then go back up to the top of the loop. When that becomes false, where we've got the right number of asterisks, we're going to print the asterisks. Then come back up to the top to see if we're finished. So we know we're going to have 2 loops in here. So we set the number of rows. Let's say we set the number of rows maybe to 9. We check to see if we're at the last row. Well, this may be some sort of a for loop. And if we use the range command, we want 9 rows, we would need a range of 10 because it would start at 0. Maybe a range of 10. We'll see. We come in here and then we'll have the other for loop. And that for loop is going to set the number of asterisks. When we're on the first row, we want to do 1 asterisk. Second row, 2 asterisks. So for some range, we need to print the right number of asterisks. Or at least set up the number of asterisks. Then after we finish the for loop, we need to print those asterisks. Then come back up and try it again with another value. So we've got 2 for loops. Programming is essentially taking a large job and breaking it down into smaller things. So we broke it down into printing the number of rows or figuring out how to do the number of rows. Figure out how to do the asterisks in rows. And as we work on that and take that big problem, break that big problem into smaller problems, now we're designing or learning how to program. It's not just now the syntax of the program. Now looking at what our desired output is, again, we would want to do 1 asterisk, 2, 3, and so on. So we'll have to come back and review that. We're going to, in the next video, actually implement this problem. In the next video, we're going to go in and try to figure out with programming code how we're going to accomplish these tasks. Thank you for watching this Dan on Tech video. Please subscribe to this playlist so you don't miss future videos. Please check out and subscribe to our other Dan on Tech channel playlists.